Hello fellow mathematicians, and welcome to a basic guide to the 6 rules of derivatives. Without any further ado, let's get started. Rule number 1 is the constant rule. It's a very easy and simple to understand. Basically, any whole number inside a function, no matter how small or big it is, it will always derive to 0. For example, f of x is equals to 23. The derivative of f of x is equals to 0. Another example is f of x is equals to 100,000. The derivatives of f of x will become 0 as well. Rule number 2, the power rule. When a variable has an exponent, all you have to do is multiply the exponent by the variable and subtract 1 from the exponent. For example, f of x is equals to x raised to 4. The derivatives of f of x is 4 times x raised to 4 minus 1. So, ililipat nyo lang yung exponent dito para ganyan yung itsura. And the result will be the derivatives of f of x is 4x cubed. Now onto the rule number 3, the constant multiple rule. This rule is like rule number 2, but now the variable has a number next to it. To find its derivatives, all we have to do now is multiply the exponent by the number and subtract 1 from the exponent. For example, f of x is equals to 6x squared. The formula will look like this. The derivatives of f of x is equals to 2 times 6x squared minus 1. The answer will look like this. The derivatives of f of x is equals to 12x.
Now moving on to rule number 4, the derivatives of sum and difference. To find the derivatives of a sum or difference, all we have to do is apply the first 3 rules that we discussed earlier. To find the derivatives of 2x raised to 4 plus 4x raised to 3 plus 5x raised to 2 plus 2x plus 5, we have to apply the 3 rules that we used. First, let's try finding the derivatives of 2x raised to 4. As stated in rule number 2, the power rule, all we have to do is multiply the exponent by the number inside the variable and subtract the exponent by 1. If we do that, it will look something like this. 4 times 2x raised to 4 minus 1. Now, if we do that for all the variables that have an exponent, we will get their derivatives. 4 times 2x raised to 4 minus 1 plus 3 times 4x raised to 3 minus 1 plus 2 times 5x raised to 2 minus 1. Now, for these two variables or numbers, we will have to follow a different rule. For 2x, we have to follow rule number 2, which is the power rule. Since this number has only 1 as its exponent, all we have to do is multiply 1 by the whole number and remove the x. After that, we'll get its whole number as its derivative, being 2. Now, as stated in rule number 1, any whole number inside an equation will be equated to 0. So the derivatives of 5 will equal to 0. Now let's multiply all the numbers that we use. 4 times 2 equals 8. 4 minus 1 equals 3. Now we do that for the rest. 3 times 4x raised to 3 minus 1 is equal to 12x raised to 2 plus 2 times 5x raised to 2 minus 1 is equal to 10x raised to 1. But we will not be writing down the 1 since it will be invisible. Now write down the 2 and dismiss the 0. That will be your final answer. Now moving on to rule number 5, the product rule. As the name suggests, we have to find the derivatives of a product. All we have to do is follow this equation. F of x times g of x is equal to f of x times the derivatives of g of x plus g of x times the derivatives of f of x. Now we are going to use an example. 5x raised to 2 times 2x raised to 2 plus 2x. If we follow the equation, this will be our f of x and this will be our g of x. The first thing we have to do is find the derivatives of each of the given numbers. First, let's find the derivatives of 5x raised to 2. All we have to do is follow the first 3 rules in order to find its derivatives. By following rule number 2, the power rule, all we have to do is multiply 2 by the number and subtract 1 from the exponent. So 2 times 5x raised to 2 minus 1. That will equal to its derivative, which is 10x raised to 1. Next, let's try to find the derivatives of g of x. G of x is equal to 2x raised to 2 plus 2x. Now, to find its derivatives, all we have to do is follow rule number 2, the power rule. 2 times 2x raised to 2 minus 1 plus 2. Since the exponent of 2x is 1, all we have to do is multiply 2 by 1 and remove the x. Its derivative will be equal to 4x plus 2. Now, let's write down the derivatives again. Derivatives of f of x is equal to 10x, and the derivatives of g of x is equal to 4x plus 2. Let's also write down the original equation, which is 5x raised to 2 times 2x raised to 2 plus 2x. Now let's follow the equation given in the formula, which is f of x times derivatives of g of x plus g of x times the derivatives of f of x. F of x is equal to 5x, and the derivatives of g of x is equal to 4x plus 2 plus plus g of x, which is equal to 2x raised to 2 plus 2x, and the derivatives of f of x is equal to 10x. Let's clear up some space so that we can solve this. Now, the first step is distributing the first variable to the second. 5x raised to 2 times f of x is equal to 20x raised to 3. All we have to do is multiply the whole number by the other whole number on the other side and add their exponents. We do the same for the other number, which is 5x raised to 2 plus 2, which equals to 10x raised to 2. Now let's do the other side. 2x raised to 2 times 10x is equal to 20x raised to 3 plus 2x plus 10x is equal to 20x raised to 2. Now let's arrange it based on their exponents. The highest exponent goes to the left side, and the lowest goes on the right. Let's copy 20x raised to 3 and move the other 20x raised to 3 beside it, and move the 10x raised to 2 beside the 20x raised to 2. Now let's add all the variables or numbers that are alike. 20x raised to 3 plus 20x raised to 3 is equal to 40x raised to 3. And 10x raised to 2 plus 20x raised to 2 is equal to 30x raised to 2. That is your final answer. Now moving on to rule number 6, the quotient rule. The formula is f of x all over g of x is equal to g of x times the derivatives of f of x minus f of x times the derivatives of g of x all over g of x squared. Now, let's try to use an example to solve. Let's use 4x squared plus 4x all over 2x squared plus 2. The numerator will be our f of x, while the denominator will be our g of x. F of x is equal to 4x squared plus 4x. And our g of x is equal to 2x squared plus 2. Now, let's try to find their derivatives. The derivatives of f of x is equal to 8x plus 4. And the derivatives of g of x is equal to 4x. Now let's follow the formula to try and find the derivative. First we put in our g of x, which is equal to 4x squared plus 4x. Now our derivative of f of x is equal to 8x plus 4 minus f of x is equal to, oh, that's wrong. There should be g of x. Sorry. Now, again, our f of x is equal to 4x squared plus 4x times the derivatives of g of x is equal to 4x. Now, let's distribute them. 2x squared times 8x is equal to 16x raised to 3 plus 2x squared plus 8x is equal to, again, 2x squared times 4x is equal to 8x raised to 2 plus 2 times 8x is equal to 16x plus 2 times 4 is equal to 8 minus 4x squared times 4x is equal to 16x raised to 3 plus 4x times 4x is equal to 16x raised to 2. Now, after that, we're going to distribute the negative symbol on all the numbers on the right side. First, let's copy all the numbers that are on the left side. Now the negative numbers on the right side. Now let's add all the like terms. 16x raised to 3 minus 16x raised to 3 is equal to x raised to 3. Now 8x minus 16x squared is equal to negative 8x squared plus 16x plus 8. Now we add the g of x squared at the at the denominator, which is 2x squared plus 2 raised to 2. And this is your final answer.